Good morning, everybody. It is Friday, May 16th, 2025. I hope everyone's going to have a happy Friday and a pleasant weekend. First off, I want to say thank you to all the new subscribers and thank you for all the people leaving comments in the comment section. I've enjoyed reading them. I've replied to several of them, and if I haven't replied to yours, I'm sorry. But by all means, I enjoy a lively debate, and I hope everyone who will enjoy this video will also subscribe. Either way, on to the news. Big news this week is that a lot of big headlines about huge investments into the United States coming from Middle Eastern countries. Trump is saying he has secured $4 trillion of investment from countries like Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Qatar. Um, so I want to take a quick look at that claim and see if it seemed reasonable or not. Let me actually back up to earlier this year when Trump announced, or actually I should say Apple announced along with Trump that Apple is going to invest $500 billion into the United States and create 20,000 jobs. You may remember in early 2021, in the opening days of the Biden administration, Apple showed up at the White House and announced $430 billion of investment in the United States and 20,000 new jobs. And in 2017, early in the first Trump administration, Apple showed up at the White House and announced $350 billion and 20,000 new jobs. You may notice that it is 20,000 new jobs each time. Apparently, Apple can't be bothered to rewrite the press release and change the jobs number. Those investments, by and large, don't ever materialize. I mean, obviously, Apple's a huge company. They have a lot of footprint here in the United States. They invest some money here. But there's nothing that I've seen to indicate that there was any investments by Apple particularly large that were over and above what they were doing anyway. My point here is that large announcements of large investments are quite common and they are quite bipartisan. But let's take a look at these recent investments here. The Qatar has announced that they are going to, or I should say Trump has announced that Qatar is going to invest 1.2 trillion in the United States over 10 years, which is an amazing number considering that Qatar's annual GDP is $200 billion. So this would mean in a 10-year period, they're going to invest an amount of money equivalent to 6 times the size of their entire economy into one country. If you believe that, okay. The sort of like if you believe the Apple thing, okay. Another example is the UAE Sovereign Wealth Fund. Trump and the Sovereign Wealth Fund have announced that they're going to invest 500 billion in the United States over the next 10 years. The UAE Sovereign Wealth Fund has about $525 billion worth of assets. So if this is true, then in the next 10 years, the UAE Sovereign Wealth Fund is going to invest 95% of all their assets into one country, the United States, which means they basically have absolutely nothing in Europe, nothing in Japan, nothing in South Korea, nothing in China, nothing in Sub-Saharan Africa, nothing in Brazil or Australia, just they're going to put the whole fund in the United States. And again, if you believe that, okay. The point here of all this is that this is I do not believe any of this. Now, this is my opinion at this point. What I've given you up to now are facts, but these are headlines. This is trying to get in good with the new administration, and frankly, it is working. The Biden administration had a series of export controls on things like AI and advanced chips. What the Trump administration is doing in exchange for these headlines, as well as other concessions by these Gulf states, is they are reducing the export controls. So these Gulf states can purchase more chips, semiconductors, and more advanced AI technology. The reason this is important is because the production of these technologies is limited in scale. We can only make so much of them, and there is a real battle for who's going to get them. And the Gulf states want them, or at least want some of it, and they seem to be succeeding at this. This is, in my opinion, why the Qataris took a jumbo jet that they've been trying to sell for 4 years and been unable to, and are now gifting it to Donald Trump. Also, Donald Trump's children are striking multi-million-dollar deals all over the Middle East, and millions of dollars of the meme coins and all that, NFTs and stuff like that, are getting bought up by Middle Eastern concerns. So it appears that what they are doing is they are trading relatively tiny amounts of actual money, that would be the deals with Trump's children, and providing huge spectacular headlines for Donald Trump, namely these big trillion-dollar investments, which I do not for a second believe are ever going to materialize. And there's a great deal of historical evidence that indicates that this is also never going to happen in exchange for getting access to sensitive technologies. that for instance, Europeans might not be able to get. So that appears to be what is happening there to me. A couple other examples of these headlines. You may remember a year or so ago, Disney announced, so a year and a half ago, Bob Iger on a conference call said Disney's going to invest over $60 billion into the Florida theme parks. And obviously, I'm a Floridian, so this is news I was paying attention to. And then if you got to the end of the press release, it said there's no timetable, there's no schedule, and most of that money will be invested in the bottom half of that, meaning pretty much none in the first 5 years. We'll do it all. So we'll start the investments 5 years from now. So in other words, we are committed to nothing. It was to make the shareholders happy. The shareholders, the Florida theme parks generate a huge amount of Disney's revenue, like 25-30%, something like that. So they made the shareholders happy, saying we're going to spend money investing in the parks instead of another Marvel movie that's going to bomb at the box office. Nothing like that, by the way, has materialized since then. A better example would be Trump's Phase 1 trade deal with China. You may remember Trump negotiated a trade deal with China called the Phase 1 deal, in which China agreed they're going to buy all these products from the United States. They did the deal and then walked away, and China then absolutely did not comply with the deal. The closest they got, I forget if it was agriculture or energy. I'm sorry, I should have my notes in front of me. But on one of them, they did buy around 80%. And some of the sectors, it was 50%, and some it was 30%. In one sector, I know it actually went down. They actually bought less after the deal than they did before it. That was an actual signed written deal. These are just announcements we're getting from the Middle East. So basically, the $4 trillion of investment that Trump has secured, I do not believe is ever going to happen. I don't think we're getting even remotely close. I don't think we're going to get half that number. I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't even get 1/4 that number. Now, will we get some investment from these Middle Eastern countries? Of course. There's a lot of American companies, real estate, bonds. There's all kinds of things to invest in, and these sovereign wealth funds and so forth will, of course, purchase some of that, but they were already doing that. That was already happening. So, on balance, big impressive headlines, no underlying reality at all. Again, there will be some investment, but that was true before the trip happened. That was true a year ago. That was always true. Of course, they're going to invest some money in the United States. They're going to invest some in Japan. They're going to invest some in Europe. They're going to invest some in China or Australia. They're going to invest some here. But overall, I would say that, yeah, I would not get real excited about this, and I would not count on it a whole lot, because I doubt we'll see very much. We'll probably see a very tiny fraction of it actually come through. But on the other hand, the export controls are being waived, and these Middle Eastern countries will be able to buy the advanced American technology that a lot of other countries won't. So in my opinion, they have bribed Donald Trump. That is my opinion. That's not a fact. And I'd say they have done it very successfully. They have been smart. They have won this round of negotiating. I don't see that the United States of America is getting anything out of this. I do see that the Gulf states are getting quite a bit out of it, and for a very low price. So good on them. They have handled this situation quite well. All right. I hope everyone has a great weekend, and bye-bye.